Welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3 Friendship is Magic. My name is J. Randall 0308, and in this series, I forcibly befriend a variety of monsters and NPCs to bring them completely under my control with the power of PolyDom'd. During my long hiatus, I spent my time extremely wisely. I reached the peak in another pastime. I conducted important research. And I played make-believe. But now, I have returned to Act 2 of this game where I'm about to visit all the Thorms. My entourage consists of Anders, Buther, Dror Ragsland, Auntie Ethel, the Nolflind, Gandrel, Gut, a Harpy, a Lava Elemental, the Masks of Servitude, Terror, and Vengeance, a Measle, a Meanlock, a Maragon Legionnaire, Minthara, Near, and the Weary Traveler. Before I make my way to Moonrise Towers, I ensure that Minthara is safely ensconced in camp. But after I talk to the guards outside the tower, Minthara's dot appears on the minimap. She beelines for me and opens the front door. This triggers the cutscene with the guards as though I had sprung Minthara from prison. Going forward, whenever I talk to Minthara, she reacts as though we're still in the process of her prison escape, even though she was never in prison to begin with. For now, I send Minthara to the Last Light Inn waypoint to keep her safe. Minthara is not the only former goblin leader with wonky behavior here in Act 2. When I talk to Priestess Gut, this triggers the conversation she normally has with you in the Shattered Sanctum, the one in which she hands you a sleep potion. My character quaffs the potion and falls asleep. After a fade to black, nothing happens. Out of curiosity, I trigger the conversation again. This time, Gut motions to one of the Moonrise Tower walls as though she were in the Shattered Sanctum closing her door. I refuse the sleep potion, so she casts a spell on me. Fade to black again. Later, in Wraithwind Town, when I exit the door of the Masons Guild, this triggers Gut's cutscene as though my character were her captive. Corilla shows up to cut Gut's throat. The cutscene ends and I see the visual effects of Corilla's disappearance. Gut herself is none the worse for wear. In fact, she's still at Last Light Inn. I continue my cutscenes by meeting Ketheric Thorm. Before anyone asks, sadly, Ketheric cannot be PolyDom'd. That would probably break the game severely, so it's for the best. Zarel informs me of a relic that Ketheric desires and encourages me to get it. Hey lady, do your own work. In fact, you should join my menagerie and I'll take you to the mausoleum where you can speak to Balthazar in person. After I PolyDom Zarel, she appears at the start of Act 2. This is where the game puts creatures and NPCs it can't decide what to do with, at least in this act. Fortunately, it's a safe area with no enemies. Zarel has one spell slot of level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In this clip, she already used her level 3 slot to counterspell something when I PolyDom'd her. However, she lacks any first level spells to cast, and her 4th level spell, Fire Shield, is coded as a once per long rest spell that doesn't use a spell slot. I head into town and visit the House of Healing. I'm in no mood for Malus's crap, so I prove my knowledge of Shar's blasphemous teachings, and then use the trusty friend spell for advantage on the check to persuade Malus that he must become the sisters' experimental subject. Gnarly! One of the sisters gets an achievement. How nice for her. My next stop is the Toll House to steal the Gloves of Battlemage's Power, one of the craziest items in the game that will solve any issues with my spell save DC. That said, in this series, I made a rule not to befriend undead because they're weird and yucky. Therefore, Gerringothe, Gerry, as I like to call her, won't be joining me. Instead, she needs to die because I needs the XP. I settle on a cunning plan. Priestess Gut will use her no-save pull power to yank Gerry down from the upper floor of the Toll House. Experimentation shows that Gut's pull can't reach that high, so I take a page from Boxygate Tactician and build a crate stairway. From atop the box tower, Gut can just target Gerry. Unfortunately, the camera doesn't show what is surely an amazing fall that deals 508 damage and leaves her without most of her coin armor. She wins initiative and instantly uses sublimation to turn Buther into a golden statue. Gerry disappears from ground level, though her red target circle remains, and is somehow back up in the Toll House. After a bunch of pixel bitching, I find a location to which the Maragon can Misty Step using a scroll. He fires his arrow of Roaring Thunder at point-blank range, but nothing happens. Near uses a Scroll of Scorching Ray, but true to his third son aura, misses by 1, twice, and deals a whopping 5 damage with the ray that hits. Do better, Near. Next round, Gerry uses combustible coins to set us up the bomb, and then ends up back at ground level. What even is this game? I want to shut down Gerry so I can attack her without triggering her legendary reaction. To To that end, Gut does some kind of warped movement to get close enough for a shocking grasp. She also uses an offhand Herald attack to apply Bane. This allows Nier to land Wicked Coercion, which turns Gerry green. It does not, however, quell her lust for gold. Meanwhile, the Maragon has been the sole recipient of the Visages' attentions and is fairly low on hit points. It's also slowed due to brutal servitude from the Visage of Obedience. I have the Maragon use an Arrow of Transposition to reach the edge of the platform, where my character can toss a healing potion onto Mr. Maragon. A replenished Maragon uses a Scroll of Fireball on the clustered skulls to finish off the Visage of Regret, which takes away the last of Gerry's coin armor. Nier can't deal the 7 damage necessary, so Gut shows him how it's done. Beating down a greedy miser is hungry work, so I head to the Waning Moon for a meal. The bartender is some kind of freakish undead centaur who seems like he's high on his own supply. He insists I drink with him, but as a child of the 1980s, I learned to just say no to drugs, so I refuse. This enrages Thisobald, who flips the table and attacks. My plan: Ethel stays at range, the Lava Elemental takes hits, the Flint flails around, and the Maragon Legionnaire uses Sentinel to make free attacks. The Weary Traveler is allowed to buff his allies, but he can attack only after he spends a turn throwing cheese. The Maragon makes good use of his Sentinel feature, but the rest of the plan goes awry when I bungle how my damage types affect Thisobald's brew. He vomits several times, which does significant damage. I get Falar Aluve Shriek going, in time for the Lava Elemental to multi-attack and hit thanks to War God's Blessing. Astute viewers will notice the Elemental is at 1 hit point. Fortunately, I had used Survival Instinct, so when the Elemental gets slammed by a Blighted Patron, it revives. I toss many potions onto my allies. The Weary Traveler tosses enough cheese that he's allowed to attack. First, he disintegrates the pesky Blighted Troubadour. Next round, he ends things with a lightning bolt from a scroll. I strike a pose, though I do feel a bit bad for Thisobald. He just wanted to chill in his bar, swap stories, and raise his crunk cup. Ah well, I never said this was a goody two-shoes run. Next time, I make a few more friends, talk to a sexy devil lady, and play with potions. I hope you're enjoying Baldur's Gate 3 Friendship is Magic. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching! I bet you were wondering if it's possible to PolyDom the non-Ketheric Thorms. The answer is yes. Here's Malus under my control. That multi-attack animation never gets old. He's only supposed to be able to use multi-attack when his hit points are 40% or lower, yet here he is with 352 out of 358 hit points. Grasping Appendage is a reflavored version of Priestess Gut's telekinetic pull, so just like that power, it lacks a saving throw and is always successful. Malus can reanimate his lovely assistants. Unfortunately, they remain hostile. An enterprising player could probably PolyDom each of the assistants in turn. Note that Lovely Assistant only works on the sisters. Malus cannot reanimate just anybody. Here's Gerry and her Visages attacking the Moonrise Tower door guards. It was a giant pain in the rear to get them all PolyDom. You need to use improvised melee weapon to pick up each Visage from stealth, take it far enough away from the toll house that the others won't notice you, then quickly PolyDom it before it can path back to its starting position. The payoff is one of the most badass screenshots I've ever taken, which makes me want to start a new run just to do this. As for Gerry, most enemies are not carrying thousands of gold pieces, so don't expect her to one-shot people with jealous avarice unless you reverse pickpocket gold onto them. Also, she can't use combustible coins nor summon Coin Halberd when PolyDom'd. She does have fast hands, which gives her an extra bonus action, the better to use her left and right coin whips. The Visages are glass cannons. If you wanted to do this for real, you'd need to keep them buffed up with aid and damage reduction. And Thisobald? I have to leave something for others to try. Alright, got the box tower, pan out, should be able to see the edge of Gerry's targeting circle, there it is, and pull. It worked! This will look great in my... Ah, crap.